I'm going to start with a quick story that I think a lot of us have lived through. You see a laptop on sale for half the price of a premium workstation, you think great deal and you buy it, only to discover a month later that the machine can't handle the 3D rendering or the massive Excel models you need for work. The regret sets in, you're stuck with a device that's either constantly throttling or you're forced to upgrade earlier than you wanted. That's why I'm taking a step back before I recommend the HP ZBook 8 G1i. The link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll walk you through whether this is the smarter buy or just another high-priced promise. First off, let's talk about the class of machine we're dealing with. Mobile workstations like the ZBook 8 are built for professionals who need workstation-grade GPUs, ECC memory support, and ISV certifications for software like SolidWorks, Autodesk, and Adobe Creative Cloud. They're not meant to be budget laptops, they sit in a niche where reliability under heavy workloads is the primary selling point. That means the price tag reflects more than just a glossy screen or a metal chassis. It reflects the engineering that lets you run CAD simulations or train machine learning models on the go without the laptop screaming for a cooling upgrade. Who should consider the ZBook 8? If you're a freelance architect who spends half the day on site, a video editor who needs to render 4K footage on a 120Hz display, or a data scientist who wants a portable node with vPro remote management, this machine checks the boxes. The 14-inch WQXGA panel with a 2560x1600 resolution and 120Hz refresh rate is actually usable for color-critical work. The extra pixels give you more screen real estate without sacrificing portability. The Intel Core Ultra 7265H with vPro adds a layer of security and remote admin that IT departments love, especially when you're dealing with confidential client data. And the 64GB of RAM paired with a 1TB SSD means you can keep multiple large project files open while the OS still feels snappy. Now, who should walk away? If you're a student buying a laptop for occasional Word documents and Netflix, you're paying a premium for capabilities you'll never tap. The same goes for gamers. The ZBook 8 is not engineered with a dedicated GPU, so you won't get the same frame rates you'd expect from a gaming laptop. Also, if you rely heavily on a laptop for long-haul battery life, say, you're traveling by train for 8 hours without a power outlet, the ZBook's battery, while respectable for its class, isn't going to outlast a typical Ultrabook that's optimized for endurance. Those users will end up paying a lot for power they don't need. Let's get into the practical strengths. The first thing I noticed when I set up the workstation on my home office desk is the almost silent operation under load. HP's thermal design uses a dual fan system and a heat pipe that, for a laptop of this size, keeps the processor at around 78°C during a 30-minute stress test with a 3D model rendering. That translates to fewer performance throttles when you're pushing through long simulations. The 14-inch screen feels crisp for reviewing high-resolution CAD drawings. The 120Hz refresh isn't just marketing fluff, it genuinely smooths out the panning of large assemblies, which can be a subtle but very real productivity boost. The keyboard layout is English, and the keys have a travel depth that feels satisfying, making long typing sessions less tiring. On the storage front, the 1TB SSD is NVMe, so copying a 5GB project file takes barely a second. With 64GB of DDR5 RAM, you can keep a large Photoshop file, a Premiere Pro timeline, and a Power BI dashboard all open without the system swapping to disk. The combination of memory and storage also means you're future-proofed for the next few years of software updates that tend to get more memory hungry. Now for the hidden trade-offs. The most noticeable limitation is the lack of a dedicated GPU. The Core Ultra 7265H includes an integrated SE graphics solution that is capable of handling most 2D design work, but if you're rendering complex scenes with ray tracing or running GPU-accelerated simulations, you'll feel the pinch. HP does offer an optional NVIDIA RTX add-in for later configurations, but the base model we're looking at doesn't include it. That's a critical piece to check before you buy, especially if your workflow depends on GPU acceleration. Another nuance is the port selection. The ZBook 8 offers a mix of USB-C with Thunderbolt 4, a single HDMI 2.0, and a couple of USB-A ports. That means you'll likely need an external hub if you're connecting a full array of peripherals, a docking station, external monitors, card readers, and perhaps a dedicated Ethernet adapter. It's not a deal-breaker, but it adds to the overall cost of ownership, especially if you're accustomed to a laptop with a richer native port set. The weight is also something to mention. At roughly 4.2 pounds, about 1.9 kilograms, the device feels sturdy but is